In this lecture, we'll cover factors influencing elasticity of demand. So I've listed various factors that impact the elasticity of demand. We'll go over it one by one. So the first is the nature of the commodity. If the commodity is a necessity, then the elasticity of demand will be inelastic. Why? Because irrespective of the price of the commodity, the consumer will buy a fixed amount of the commodity. All the fluctuation in the commodity due to change in the price will be less because it's a necessity. For example, salt or medicines. With the change in the price of these commodities, I will buy the commodity irrespective of the change in the price of the commodity, and the change in the quantity because of the change in price will be low because it is a necessity for me. Now, for example, we take the example of a car. So, car is not a necessity for everybody, right? It is a luxury for the poor people. So when you consider car as a luxury, then the elasticity of demand is greater than 1, because with a change in the price of the commodity, now people will think whether to buy the commodity or not. That is, to demand the commodity or not. So the elasticity of demand is greater than 1 for the luxuries. Now the second point is the postponement in the use of the commodity. If the consumption of the commodity can be postponed, then the elasticity of demand is greater than 1. For example, you want to buy a new mobile that is launched in the market and you can wait for it, right? So the elasticity of demand is greater than 1, or the elasticity of demand is elastic because change in quantity demanded due to change in price is more. If the commodity is fluctuating, if the price of the commodity is fluctuating a little also, then it has a great impact on your quantity demanded. If the commodity consumption cannot be postponed, then the elasticity of demand is inelastic. For example, salt. You cannot postpone the use of salt, so the elasticity of demand for that particular commodity is less than 1. Now, share of the commodity in the total expenditure. If the share of the commodity in the total expenditure is very less, for example, the share of salt or matchbox in the total expenditure that the consumer spends is very less, then the demand for that particular commodity will be inelastic. Whereas if you look for commodities where the large fraction of your money is spent on the total expenditure, then the commodity is said to have elastic demand. For example, car and AC. Now, the other thing that you have to keep in mind is the availability of close substitutes. When there are large substitutes available in the market, for example, for Coke, you have Pepsi, you have Sprite, you have Fanta, you have other aerated drinks. So, when you have a lot of close substitutes available in the market, the demand for it is elastic. Whereas if you take the example of salt, is there any substitute for salt? No. So the demand for salt will be inelastic because there is no or less close substitutes for the salts. Now, diverse uses of the commodity. When the commodity can be put into diverse uses, the demand for it is elastic. For example, milk can be put to various uses. Now, if the price of the milk rises, so you can reduce the consumption of the milk for less important things. So the demand for milk is said to be elastic in that case, right? And when the commodity has less uses, we have inelastic demand for that commodity. Now let us look at the habitual goods. Now, if you have a habit for a particular commodity, that for example you have a habit of a car, so the demand for it is inelastic. Now there's a commodity in the market to which you're not habituated. So the elasticity of demand for that particular commodity can be elastic because the change in the price can lead to a very large change in the quantity demanded, right? Now let us take 7th. is the preferences of the consumer. If you have developed a positive taste towards a particular commodity, say tea or coffee, then the demand for it will be inelastic because you have a favorable preference for that commodity. If you have unfavorable preferences, that if you want such that you are indifferent or you will be okay if you don't consume that commodity, then the demand for that particular commodity will be elastic. Now let us look at the level of income. When there is when the income of a consumer is very high, then the demand for the commodities will be inelastic because the change in the price of commodities will have little impact on the quantity demanded because you have enough resources to buy the commodity even if the price change, right? Now if the income is low for the consumer, then the elasticity of demand is high for most goods. With this we covered the theory of demand, and from the next lecture we will move on to consumer behavior, and after that we look at the consumer equilibrium. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel for latest updates on the new videos, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.